I'm Ryme, an Arab Muslim woman from Syria, the founder of PeoplesMediaCenter.net, People's Media Center in the USA. All of our equipment and also our paperwork. One of the boxes has a paper written on it, PMC Retreat. This is the box that I really need you to tally, make sure that we have, one copy of every training that's in it, and type on the computer what it is, and then later I need you to be scanning that. That's like really important. I need you to scan every page one after the other so that you're able to email me all of that or put it in the Dropbox so that I can use it also in Lebanon. You can do that? I was talking to Diamond, one of the interns in Washington, D.C. She has to do community service for school. It's part of how we get the volunteers to help. So I came from Pacifica. I joined the indie media movement. I then created WBIX with Errol Maitland, Dennis Moynihan, who was the silent partner, if you would, or the background partner, and with Chokeson and Amanda. And with WBIX, we were webcasting. We did it all over the United States. We actually converted the bus to have futon in it, and we drove from city to city to train people to do the media. We were supposed to be on Ricochet, which was the first wireless internet via satellite, but it went belly up just a week before we took to the road. We were also working with the Douglas Fisher Justice Project, which is the name of the son of Errol Maitland, that was killed by the guard of Best Buy, and I was doing press relations for them. So that's how come we met a lot of people on the first journey. And then with WBIX, we took the bus and we went back. And we also had gone with the Douglas Fisher Justice Project to Minneapolis, and before they did any of the rallies there to bring attention to the racism of Best Buy and its practices, we went to the American Indian Movement, whose headquarters is there, to ask permission to be doing that, and I reported on all of that. So through that, Dennis Banks invited Kobe Maitland, the son of Errol Maitland, Kobe Zimbabwe Gaiji Maitland, to be a sun dancer. He was 16. And that's how come we got involved closer with the American Indian Movement. He danced at the Pipestone dance, did a commitment of 4 years, so did we. And we hanged in the camp, and we all volunteered to help in that. And we also learned other ways of telling a story, other ways of sharing an oral tradition by living with the indigenous people. See, I need to say how I got into media. I started with the Arab Women Artists. It was an organization that in 1995, as the US invaded Iraq, we as Arabs wanted to tell our story. So we created Arab Women Artists in New York. It was an offshoot of the International Council of Women in the Arts, and at the time, that organization was setting up an exhibition of the artwork of Arab women from all over the world. And you see, I noticed in the USA that people are very open to talk about our heritage, our folklore, but when it comes to us being part of the contemporary and helping define the future, there was a lot of resistance. So we helped do that, and then offshoot of that in New York City, we felt that we really needed to do something more regular. Every month, once a month, the same time, have events by Arab women artists and men and tell our story. From there, Barbara Nimri Aziz was a producer of Tahrir, Crescent Rising, or Tahrir, which means liberation, a radio show on WBAI in New York, a radio show on WBAI, New York City, 99.5 FM on Tuesday at 7 p.m. She said, what I need is somebody to help me produce the show. I said, I'm working corporate 80 hours a week. I don't have time. I can photocopy things, I can do dumb work. She says, no, we need more producers. We need producers that are Arab that can tell the narrative. So she was my first mentor in radio. At WBAI, after her, Sally O'Brien with Cuba in Focus also wanted to use my voice. I said, audition me. I have a very strong accent. She laughed. She said, you'll be okay. And that's how come I started daring to use my voice on the air. And that's how come I learned the news. In New York City also, the sound gatherers led by Melvin Simmons taught me, then Errol Maitland, he taught me what it's like to coordinate a lot of reporters, and he actually drove me to Philadelphia on the day where people stopped. Clinton was going to come talk, and people intended to stop the Liberty Bell from ringing on the 4th of July. So he taught me how to do it, and I coordinated all the street coverage by the reporters of WBAI. And I feel that that's about when I started looking into doing more than just corporate and management and technical consulting. I started coordinating a lot of street coverage, and unlike other producers on BAI, I didn't have particularly just a show. I had a beat of occupation, oppression and repression and occupied land. Let me repeat, it was actually, I had a beat which was oppression, repression and occupied land. Because if I'm to talk about us and Arabs, if I'm to talk about occupied land and occupied minds, I needed to also connect with the struggles here. So I started understanding more about the Puerto Rican independence and about the Black Panther Party, about the American Indian movement, and I got a chance to get to meet a lot of these people and also be mentored by them. And they often said that what we need is reporters that can actually allow us to tell the story and keep its fidelity. So that's what we specialized with. During the Pacifica campaign, there was this big, massive, nationwide in the United States uprising, I would say, to reclaim the Pacifica radio network and to give it back to the people from where it was at, which was releasing and banning and exiling and firing a lot of the more radical producers. Errol Maitland, who was the producer and the technical director of Democracy Now!, a pretty famous by now radio and TV show in the United States, led by Amy Goodman. And Dennis Moynihan, who's actually now the outreach coordinator of Democracy Now!, and Chokeson and Amanda, who are Native Americans, we got together and we talked about what could we do that would make it a different way of covering the news. We also had a lot of people in Pacifica doing get-togethers, conferences that talked about rethinking the news. And in New York City, through the International Action Center, there's People's Video Network that also was doing a model in which they were training anybody that was interested to create media. I learned from all of them. I learned a lot from these conferences. That after WBIX, we took that and WBIX, like I said, and Free Speech Radio News and DC Indie Media, we created what Eddie Becker called the DC Radio Co-op, which was a collective of people who were training to create a news department on WPFW radio station in Washington, DC by 2004. We went there, and first I was a national correspondent for Peace Watch, which was a one-hour show that covered the anti-war movement and peace movements in the USA to oppose the invasion of Iraq by the USA. And then I proceeded to be the news director and the training director. We trained so many different people. I believe that to really have efficient news desks, we need diversity of experience, of age, of race, of background, of perspectives, of languages. We also needed to train a lot of Spanish-speaking people, because if we don't understand what happened in Latin America and the involvement of USA in Latin America, we can't really understand what is happening in the Arab world. So we need to connect the dots. And eventually we were pushed out of the radio stations, and the people gave me space. They said that you should go talk to the Egyptian man, Nabil al-Birri. He has a cafe called Al-Fishawi Cafe, named after a very famous intellectual hangout in Cairo. Maybe he'll let you set up something there. Al-Fishawi Cafe used to be the Fox's playground, used to be a strip club. And when they lost their liquor license, Nabil did Al-Fishawi Cafe. So we started in 2005 in September, and it was a convergence of indie media to cover the anti-war rally that happened in DC. And then we continued on, and then people called it People's Media Center, and that's what we went with. We were able to do there a lot of youth programming. We even created a teen cafe. We did a lot of programs to have teaching and allow different discussions to happen. The unemployment movement and the takeover workers from Argentina came and talked. Mexicanos Sin Fronteras came and talked. The Black Panthers came and talked. And what is now called the San Francisco 8, they said that it felt like home because we also had a brunch program on Saturday, part of the Speak Out, the DC Speak Out, that taught people how to do public speech. We also had once a month a fiesta, and with the Latino Media Collective and also with the Black August Planning Organization, they did a writing for prisoners, and People's Media Center was set up, media ready to allow the story to be told. When people also combined their energy on May 1st and came as immigrants to protest what was going on with a new effort to kind of push away the migrant workers from all over the world to the USA, they came from LA, they were able to do a teaching because we was ready. When people that were Indians from India were day laborers in New Orleans and they came to with a hunger strike to say that, you know, they're left out of the whole support after the Katrina and when the levees broke, we hosted them at People's Media Center. Jewish people from the Jewish Community Center came and helped renovate the building as Nabil was giving me more and more space to do the project. And they helped because we were housing homeless people and we were bartering space for effort. We also had in the teen cafe, we had go-go parties, we had also the punk, and I mixed the punk with the go-go. We also mixed the hip-hoppers and the poets and the punk for the Nat Turner Rebellion in Black August to talk about political prisoners then and now. And we had a lot of good projects that took place. Finally, when the Native Americans also came on the longest walk, and they walked 8,000 miles from the West Coast in the East Coast on 2 routes to come and bring the new manifesto documenting all the rape of Mother Earth, as they said, and the desecration of sacred sites, and also bringing proposals of how we could do it different. We were their advance office, and we were part with Lona Elias and myself with the indigenous people of the press corps that helped bring it and help release so many media to cover their arrival to DC and dispatch these reporters not to go there and photograph a couple of Indians in feathers, but to understand that this is a canary song to tell us as people that we need to take on ourselves to save Mother Earth. This is what People's Media Center is about. Communication for empowerment, connecting the dots, bringing the global to the local, and training all to tell their story, and telling the story, from the hill to the streets, from abroad to here. So in our webcast, we're going to have movement-to-movement discussions. So check us out and follow us on the hashtag in a month. It's #PMC, People's Media Center. We're one. Our tiny reporters start at the age of 4 and 5, and they learn how to do cameras. And here we are a few years later, you can hear their messages. They're amazing, because we also teach leadership. Because like the Arab man said in the news store, to make a difference, we all gotta be leaders. And to be able to tell the story, our story, we need to do it with power. So communication for empowerment. People, Media Center, peoples, because we're plural, we're many, we're one. So we teach people how to breathe, we teach them how to use equipment. We also have a lot of classes in computer literacy. We worked in after-school programs with the Maya Angelou Charter School, with the Ideal Academy for Education. And when we closed the center in 2009, we gave a lot of our books to the Ideal Academy of Education so they can have a library. Now we are in 2012 and we're working with the Peace House in Washington, D.C. The address is 1233 12th Street Northwest. That's between M like Mary and N. And we have a project with the Artist Circle called Love Music, Hate Racism USA, which is an offshoot of Love Music, Hate Racism in the UK. And we also are doing a gig of Love Music, Hate Homophobia at Cobalt Club every Monday night. And by connecting the cultural expression for cultural workers that the other people call artists, by training people to be reporters and to be media makers, we connect the dots. And we can tell our world, New York, DC, the Arab world, Africa, Latin America, it's really important. So when you go to DC, come and check us out. We have a computer lab there, and every Friday night we have an open mic. Come and say something, learn something, and talk your story for the world.